of Orthodox spirituality.
Lord, have mercy, Lord, have mercy.
A wondrous journey into Orthodoxy.
Lord, have mercy.
Prepared and presented by Angeliki Antonakou, Lekea.
Hello, dear listeners. We are continuing to read from the book With Pain and Love for Contemporary Man, the first volume in the series, Spiritual Counsels, by Saint Paisios.
God is the Lord, and hath appeared unto us. Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord.
Good thoughts are the antidote to noise pollution, the continuation. Once I was on a bus, and the driver turned the music on really loud. A group of pious young men reminded him that there was a monk on the bus, repeatedly making signs to him to turn it off, but without success. In fact, he turned the music even louder. Let him be, I told them. It doesn't matter. The music is holding the ison to my chanting. God forbid, I thought, if there had been an accident nearby and they had to put the injured in our bus, how would I bear to see people with broken legs and heads? Thank God that people are not only well, but actually singing. This way, I ended up having a great trip and spent my time chanting. Let me give you another example, to show you how a good thought can help us deal with all kinds of situations. I was in Jerusalem once with an acquaintance of mine, and there was some sort of festivity. They were celebrating some feast and were constantly crying out, Allah. It was a madhouse. Sing to him with loud shouts, praise him with loud clashing cymbals. Psalm 33 verse 3, Psalm 150 verse 5. You could not understand what they were saying. It went on all night long. My acquaintance got upset and spent the night sitting by the window. He did not sleep a wink, but I slept like a baby by just bringing to mind only good thoughts. I brought to my mind the scene of the Hebrews' exodus from Egypt, when they sang unto the Lord after crossing the Red Sea, and I was deeply moved. This is how you too should confront a difficult situation. Think good thoughts. Let's say, for example, a door slammed. You must say, if God forbid something bad had happened to a sister, if she had fallen down and broken her leg, would I be sleeping now? Now, it is only a door that slammed. She must have to do something for the monastery. But if you start criticizing her, thinking, here she goes again slamming the door, such a careless person, you will not find peace. The moment you start having such thoughts, the devil will come and upset you. At night, you may hear an alarm go off. You hear it once, and after a few minutes, you hear it again. If you start thinking good thoughts, this soul must have been very tired. She is probably having a hard time getting up. It is good that she slept another half hour and then got up to do her spiritual duties. Then you will not be annoyed or upset that someone woke you up. But if all you can think of is yourself and how the alarm clock woke you up, then you will be saying, what is going on in this place? Can't anyone get some rest? Thinking good thoughts is the best form of ascesis. There is no greater help than good thoughts. We must acquire inner tranquility. The best thing is to use everything for the sake of our spiritual struggle. We should try to achieve inner tranquility. Make the best of noise by putting the right thoughts in your mind. It's all in the way we choose to deal with things. We should face everything with good thoughts. Being tranquil in the midst of a great disturbance is a great achievement. If you cannot find peace where it is noisy, You will not find it when it is quiet. When interior peace comes, then everything inside us becomes peaceful, and nothing can disturb us. If we need external peace to find inner peace, we will pick up a stick and start chasing the cicadas during the day and the jackals at night. In other words, we will be chasing whatever the devil gathers together. What do you think his job is? He puts obstacles in our way to thwart our efforts until he turns us upside down. Once in a skiti, there were 2 elderly monks who had a donkey. The animal had a bell around its neck. A young monk who wished to practice hesychia was disturbed by the bell's noise. He cited every rule he knew in order to prove that donkeys should not be allowed in a skiti. But the bell did not bother the other fathers, so I said to him, "Instead of being pleased that the old men are not a burden on us, but take care of their own needs with the help of this donkey, you are complaining. If the animal did not have a bell, they wouldn't be able to find the donkey, and we would have to go looking for it. Is that what you want?" If we do not use good thoughts and deal with things in a spiritual way, even living next to saints will not help us. Let's say that I find myself at a military base. I should think of the trumpet as a church bell, and of weapons as spiritual armaments against the devil. If we don't treat every situation in a spiritual way, then even the sound of the church bell will annoy us. Either we make the best of a situation spiritually, or the devil will take advantage of it. A restless person will bring his restless self with him, even into the desert. The first and most important thing for the soul is that she acquire inner peace in the noisiest of places, so that she will be able to rest in the stillness of the desert.
Stress of despair and turbulence in my soul, for thou, O bride of God, hast given birth to the Lord Christ, who is Prince of Peace, O thou only, all blameless one. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, since thou brought forth him who is our benefactor, the cause of good, from the wealth of thy loving kindness, do thou pour forth on all, for thou canst do all things, since thou dost bear Christ the one who is mighty in power, for blessed of God art thou.
Chapter 5. Too many worries distance us from God. We must not open too many fronts. People today have many distractions because they do not live simple lives. They open too many fronts and are overwhelmed with worries. I only try to take care of 1 or 2 things at a time, and then move on to something else. I never try to do too many things at the same time. Let's say that I am thinking of doing something. I will have to finish it before I start thinking about doing something else. When I cannot finish what I started, I feel uneasy. Too many things going on at the same time can drive us crazy. The thought alone can turn us into schizophrenics. Once a young man with psychological problems came to my kalivi. He told me that he suffered from some kind of hypersensitivity that he had inherited from his parents. I said to him, "What is this hereditary stuff you are talking about? First of all, you need to get some rest. Then you must go back to school, get your degree, and do your service in the military. When you are done with the army, look for a job." He followed my advice and found his way in life. That is how people can find themselves as well. Yeroda, I tire easily when I work. I do not know what is to blame for it. What you seem to be lacking is patience. And the reason you cannot be patient is that you undertake too many things. You spread yourself too thin, and this is why you tire so easily. This causes you to be nervous, and since you have philotimo, you worry about doing things right. When I lived in a Cenobitic monastery, there was a monk, old Isidore, who served together with me in the carpenter shop. He had no patience at all. He would start working on a window. Then he would get worried and stopped. Next, he would start working on a door, only to get upset and quit. After that, he would go up on the roof. He used to stop in the middle of a job and leave everything unfinished. He cut some logs the wrong way or cut them to the wrong size. This is how hard work can break one's back without achieving anything in the end. There are some people who have limited abilities and can do only one or two things at a time well. When they get involved in too many jobs, they end up doing nothing right and drag others down along with them too. As much as possible, one should do one or two things only, do them right, and then with a clear mind and a rested body start working on the next job. What spiritual work can be done with a scattered mind? How would we remember Christ? Do not give your heart to material things. Yaroda, what do you mean when you say, give your legs and your hands to the task but not your hearts? I mean that you should not give your hearts to material things. Some people dedicate themselves to material things. They spend all their day absorbed in doing a job well and do not think of God at all. We should not reach that point. When at work, use your hands and legs, but do not let your mind stray away from God. Do not give your whole being, all your energy and heart to material things. If you give your heart this way, you will end up an idolater. Do your best at work, but do not give your hearts to the work you are doing. Give only your hands, your minds. Do not give your heart to vain, useless things. If you do, then how will it leap for Christ? When the heart is with Christ, then our work is sanctified. There will also be a constant rest for the soul, and we feel true joy. Do not waste your hearts. Make the best of them. If the heart is squandered on many insignificant things, it will not have the strength to feel pain for what truly deserves its care. I give my heart to a cancer patient, to someone who is suffering. I agonize over young people who are in danger. I pray that God will enlighten them. When I have people around me, all I care about is the pain the other person feels and the love they need. I am not even aware of my own pain. In this way, we come to forget our own troubles. We are transformed. Yaroda, is it possible not to give your mind and heart to everything you do? When the task is simple, it helps because it doesn't absorb the mind. But when the task is complex, then it makes sense to become absorbed mentally, but not to the point where the work takes over the heart. How does it take over the heart? In what form? In what form? The devil, with morphine, narcotizes the heart. A pun on form, morphi in Greek. He gives it egoism and takes control. But when the heart surrenders to God, then our intellect, nous, will be with God, and the mind will do the work. The elder implies a distinction between the rational, calculating mind and the intellect, nous, that together with the heart longs for God, and both rest with God. When we speak of a carefree mind, what do we mean exactly? We mean that when you work, you should not forget Christ. Do your work joyfully, but keep your intellect and your heart focused on Christ. If you do this, not only will you not get tired, but you will have the energy to do your spiritual work as well. Tranquility and prayer sanctify work. Yaroda, isn't it better to work slowly so that one can be calm? Yes, because when we work in this way, we maintain inner peace, and our whole day is sanctified. Unfortunately, we have not realized that when we do our work in a hurry, we become nervous, and when work is done nervously, it is not sanctified. Our goal should not be to get busy with many things and live in constant agony. This is a demonic condition. When monastic handicrafts are made with calmness and prayer, they are sanctified, and they also sanctify the people who use them. This is why lay people seek these handiworks from us as a blessing. By contrast, any work made with haste and nervousness is bound to transmit this demonic condition to others. Work done in a rush with agony is the mark of worldly persons. Instead of giving people a blessing, these troubled souls impart their agitation to those who receive their handiwork. It is amazing how a person's spiritual state affects not only the work that he does, but also the actual materials, for example, the wood that he is using. The end product of a man's work reflects his spiritual state. If he is upset and angry and swears, his work will not be blessed. But if he is chanting and saying the Jesus prayer, then his work becomes holy. The first condition is demonic. The second is divine. If you do things with piety and pray while you work, you will always be sanctified. Everything you do will be sanctified. When one has God in mind, his labor and works become holy. Let us say, for example, that I am making a wooden box while saying the Jesus prayer. I am praying, and at the same time, I am creating something for the glory of God. My goal is not to make boxes and work quickly in order to produce a lot of them and be full of anxiety. This is a demonic state. We did not come to the monastery for this. We came to become holy and bring holiness to everything we do. The reason why you may sometimes feel as if you are nothing more than a good employee, performing her assigned tasks, busy running about to put everything in order, is that you forget to take Christ with you. But if you begin your work with the Jesus prayer, you will feel like a servant of Christ. So, if you want holiness for yourself and your work, make sure that you make the Jesus prayer a part of everything you do. Do you know how abundantly God will bless you then? How many blessings and good things He will send your way? Yaroda, when the task is mental, such as a translation, how is it possible to do it and say the Jesus prayer at the same time? When the task requires mental concentration, if your intellect is focused on God, your work will become holy. In this way, even though you cannot say the Jesus prayer, you will be immersed in the atmosphere of God. When you reach such a spiritual state, you will be greatly helped because you will not understand the meaning of words based on reason alone. You will actually know them through divine enlightenment. And what happens when I must undertake this type of work, but have not yet reached such a spiritual state? In that case, you must still go ahead and do the work, but you need to pray to God and ask God to enlighten you. You should do your best to allow the divine meanings, what divine enlightenment provides, to assist you, and to work with piety. Make sure that you take a short break every 1 or 2 hours and say the Jesus prayer. Yaroda, especially in translation work, one has many distractions. We must consult dictionaries, read commentaries. As I have said before, what helps in translation work is to live on a daily basis with pure thoughts, because such thoughts make a person a receptacle of grace. Interpretation will then be divine. It will come from divine enlightenment and not from one's mind, the dictionary, or the pen. What I am trying to say is that we must rely on the divine rather than the human.
O merciful one, blot out the multitude of mine offenses. Have mercy on me, O God, according to thy great mercy, and according to the multitude of thy compassions, blot out my transgression. O entrust me not, I pray, to any human
too many worries make people forget God. Yeroda, do worries cause us to withdraw from God? Look, when a little child is playing and is absorbed with his games, he is not aware that his father is sitting next to him, caressing him. The moment he stops playing, he realizes that he is being caressed. Similarly, when we are preoccupied with too many worries or concerns, we cannot be aware of God's love. God gives, but we do not sense it. Be careful not to waste your precious energy on superfluous concerns and needless things which one day will surely turn to dust. Then, bodily tired and with your mind scattered aimlessly at the hour of prayer, you will offer to God your tiredness and your yawns like another Cain. The result will be that your inner state will be the state of Cain, with anxiety and sighs of discomfort initiated by the little devil standing by your side. We must not waste the fruit of our labors, the inner core of our souls, in aimless pursuits, and leave only the outer shells for God. The many cares of life sap the marrow from our hearts and leave nothing for Christ. When your mind constantly wanders off to the various chores you have to do, you should realize that you are not doing well spiritually. You should worry then, because this means that you have distanced yourself from God. You should realize that you have grown closer to material things than you have to God, closer to creation than to the Creator. Unfortunately, it is not uncommon for a monastic to be deceived and draw a worldly form of pleasure from his work. We know that it is in man's nature to do good because his Creator is good. But a monastic is striving to transform himself from a human being into an angel. This is why his material work must be limited to the bare necessities to leave time for spiritual work. Then his joy will come from the fruit of his spiritual labor. It will be a spiritual joy, abundant nourishment for himself and for everybody else. Those who work too hard and are full of worries forget God. Father Tikhon had this saying: Pharaoh gave the Israelites a lot of work and a lot of food to make them forget God. Today the devil makes people lose themselves in material things and in all kinds of distractions, including too much work and too much food in order to forget God. As a result, they cannot, or maybe they do not want to, make worthwhile use of the freedom that has been given to them to make their souls holy. But fortunately, there is a good side to this that the devil has not foreseen. People do not have the time to sin as much as they would like. Too much work and too many worries make a monastic worldly. It is best for those who desire to live spiritual lives, especially monastics, to avoid pursuits or projects that will stand in the way of this goal. They should not take up too many projects because work never ends. If monastics do not learn inner spiritual work, they will look for an escape in all kinds of external activities. People consumed by endless tasks will end their lives with all kinds of spiritual imperfections. They will then repent of their endless activity, but it will be too late, because their passport and destination will have already been issued. But in general, it is important to take a break from work, even if only for a little while. When we reduce the number of chores we have to do, it is natural that our bodies will feel rested, and that a thirst for interior spiritual work, the work which consoles and never tires, will arise in us. Then the soul will breathe an abundance of spiritual oxygen. Spiritual work never causes fatigue. On the contrary, it gives us rest and refreshment because it lifts us up on high and brings us closer to our loving Father, before whom our souls rejoice. when physical labor does not have a spiritual reason, or to put it better, when physical labor does not have its basis in a spiritual need that justifies it, it brings out the worst in us. Even the most tame and good-tempered horse, when overworked, will start kicking and showing a bad temper, despite the fact that horses normally become more gentle with age. There are always some things that we can set aside in order to direct our attention to spiritual matters, which take precedence. Too much work and too many worries make a monastic worldly. They will give him a secular outlook. His life will be like that of ordinary people, full of stress and worldly anxiety. In other words, he will get to know a portion of hell in this life, with its endless cares, worries, and disasters. But when the monastic is not worried about material things, and is instead concerned only about his salvation and the salvation of all human beings, then God is his steward, manager, and men his helpers. Do you remember what happened to Father Gerondios and his spiritual son? Father Gerondios had asked the Panagia to provide some water for him and his disciple to drink. And she, like the good mother that she is, opened a crack in the rock wall of the Hesychasterion, the dwelling of an ascetic, and holy water gushed out for them to drink. Afterward, the young monk started gathering rocks and soil near the spring and building terraced gardens. He became so busy with construction that he neglected his spiritual duties. Since the water was not enough for all these projects, he took a chisel and widened the crack so that more water would come out. Then the Panagia dried out the spring and caused the water to flow at a lower point, below the Hesychasterion, as if she were telling him, "If you want gardens and distractions so badly, go and get the water from afar."
Dwelling of anguish, grant healing to me, transforming all of my illness into full healthfulness.
Dear listeners, our show has come to an end. Thank you for listening. We will continue once again where we left off in our next show. Until then, be well.
Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Lord, have
Readings of Orthodox Spirituality.
Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy.
A wondrous journey into Orthodoxy.
Lord, have mercy.
Prepared and presented by Angeliki Antonakou, Lekea.